All right, all right. I know. I'm better late than never when it comes to making recommendations for the 2024 North Carolina Republican primary. Yeah. Let me just say some inside stuff first. This year was harder than years past. One reason is because we have this ballot. There were a lot more candidates on the ballot than there were in years past. That's a good thing. But another thing was that I've been without a mode of transportation for a few months, and so couldn't make it out to all the forums. Unfortunately, there are still a majority of groups within the Republican Party in the Tar Heel State who are still living in the early 90s and will not embrace technology and put their candidate forums either on Facebook Live or, they won't put them on YouTube or Rumble or whatever video free, very inexpensive, to heck, even a smartphone camera, put it on the darn internet. So those of us who are limited by transportation, or maybe the very elderly voters who still want to participate, it would be nice if we could embrace technology in the future. So anyway, let me give you my recommendations for the primary, and of course we'll start with the head honcho, the El Presidente, and the choice here is going to be Ron DeSantis. Now, yes, I am aware that there is a 99.99999% chance probability that Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee for president, and I look forward to voting for him in the fall. However, for right now, we are in a primary election, and I am going to vote for whoever I damn well please. And on this day, I feel that the best choice for that job is Ron DeSantis. He actually likes to participate in debates. What a concept, right? He is also not an election denier. He is for the fair tax, and is not just for status quo tax cuts that we may or may not be able to pay for, and are short-term tax cuts that, Ron DeSantis actually wants the fair tax. And he also wants to shrink the size of the federal government, such as sunsetting the Department of Transportation and letting the states make their own decisions with building highways. Okay, so Ron DeSantis is my pick for president in the primary. Yes, if Donald Trump is the Republican nominee this fall, I will certainly vote for him. Okay, Congress. Now, I'm just going to do the endorsement for my district. I'm not going to worry about their 13 other districts in this state. I'm not going to worry about those. I mean, I think in one district there's like 13, 14 candidates. It's like, wow. Okay, so I'm in District 5, I think. At least for the next 2 years, I'm in District 5. Who knows if that'll change in 2026. Because, unfortunately, here in North Carolina, we continue to want the legislatures to run redistricting rather than going to an independent commission. Democrats showed for over 100 years they couldn't draw fair maps. Unfortunately, Republicans have also picked up that concept too, and for the last 13 years of controlling the legislature in North Carolina, the Republicans can also not draw districts either fairly. But anyway, in my congressional district of District 5, we have the incumbent Virginia Fox versus Ryan Mayberry. So let's talk about the incumbent here, Virginia Fox. She's 81 years old. I think that's the same age as Biden. And Mrs. Fox has been in Congress for 20 years. So when I was in high school, she was in Congress. Wow. Mrs. Fox talks a great game about being pro building the wall on the southern border. And she said in a recent interview to WXII News, she said, "I supported the first border wall bill back in 2006. Oh, but then she goes and votes no on impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas, who is Biden's director of Homeland Security. So in other words, she is a huge hypocrite on this border issue. So enter Ryan Mayberry. Could she be better than Virginia Fox? I don't know. But could he be better than Virginia Fox? I don't know. But could he possibly be any worse? I don't think so. So therefore, my choice is going to be Ryan Mayberry in Congressional District 5. And another way to remember this is remember that Andy Griffith's hometown of Mount Airy is in the 5th Congressional District, also known as Mayberry on the Andy Griffith Show. So there you go, right? Mayberry, right. The 5th Congressional District should be represented by a man with the last name of Mayberry over a lady with the last name of Fox. Mayberry over Fox. I mean, come on. It should be a no-brainer, right? Okay, let's talk about the governor's race. We have 3 people in the Republican Party running for this office. We have Mr. Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson ran for lieutenant governor 4 years ago and won. I did not vote for him in the primary because I thought he was way too... he talked too nationally, if that's a word. Like, you're running for lieutenant governor of North Carolina, but I thought he could run for lieutenant governor of North Dakota or Nevada or New Hampshire. He just sounded way too national and never really talked about state-specific issues. So when you look at his tenure as lieutenant governor, Mr. Robinson, in my opinion, the job he did was pretty unsatisfactory. He was actually out of North Carolina more than he was in the state of North Carolina. Talk to anybody on the Council of State and they'll tell you his attendance record at these Council of State meetings was absolutely abysmal. And then there's this whole thing from the Daily Haymaker about he owes a landlord in Greensboro from like 15 years ago like $3,000, and yet his net worth is like over $1 million now. And of course he spent like $30,000 on a vacation in Virginia Beach, right? $30,000, and he decided to go to not the Outer Banks, but no, he decided to go out of state to Virginia. I mean, come on, really? Mark Robinson, don't we have better beaches here in North Carolina than Virginia? I mean, come on. Yeah, if you're going to go to out-of-state beach, that's really good. I mean, go to Fruit Bay Island in South Carolina. I mean, Virginia Beach? Really? Seriously? And then there's the whole thing about him and his wife's business of balanced nutrition, getting a lot of money from the federal government. And this is on top of his very good salary of about $150,000 that he makes for just being lieutenant governor. The guy, he's really been silenced and controlled by Tim Moore and Phil Berger. So, does Robinson really deserve a promotion to the governor's seat? I would tell you, no, he does not. Another guy running is, I believe his name is Graham, right? Is his name Graham? I think. Bill Graham. Yeah, Bill Graham. Bill Graham, the one thing, two things I like about him. One is one of the planks of his platform is that he wants to eliminate the 2% grocery tax that we have here in the Tar Heel State, which I'm surprised Republicans have been in control of the legislature now for, 11 years, and 13 years, excuse me, and they haven't haven't even cut it by 0.5% at least. So Bill Graham wants to eliminate the 2% grocery tax. And another thing I like about Bill Graham is he looks a lot like Robert Carradine, who was the father on the Lizzie McGuire show. So there's that whole nostalgia thing. It's like, hey, Bill Graham looks like the dad from Lizzie McGuire. Nostalgia, right? But then we have the bad Mr. Graham. He has been involved in this whole solar energy boondoggle. And then he was endorsed by Tom Tillis, and oh my gosh, don't even get me a start on Tom Tillis. He's just been absolutely disastrous. United States Senator. Then, we have Dale Folwell. I love Dale Folwell. He is wrapping up a second term as state treasurer. He's going after these overpaid hospital executives that make millions and millions of dollars. And yet, if you need an aspirin in the ER, it's like $500 a pill or something. It's ridiculous. Healthcare so overpriced. Dale Folwell trying to lower the cost of healthcare for everybody. Trying to get rid of this whole BS about medical debt and people who need a required surgery, but then they go $500,000 in debt through no fault of their own. Just a lot of this crap he's trying to fight, and the hospital executives are just saying, no, we're not doing nothing. He's trying to go after these corrupt healthcare insurance companies and fighting the good fight. And he can also appeal to Democrats because he, like the first Republican who's ever been endorsed by the state employees union. So he's probably going to get 25-30% of the Democrat vote, I think, if he's on the general election ballots. Dale Folwell, real humble guy, real down to earth. No, he's not the same caliber of public speaker as Mark Robinson, but who is really? But still, blue collar guy, worked his way through college till he was like 26. Became an accountant, was on the Forsyth County School Board, was a state legislature, was assistant commerce secretary under Pat McCrory. Helped lower, we have like a $2 billion unemployment debt that he helped get rid of. He was a garbage collector, motorcycle mechanic, all these blue collar jobs, working his way through college. Just an awesome person. A person that, I will say this, if there's one race that I really want to win on election day, it's the governor race, Dale Folwell. All the other races I could care less about. I just want Dale Folwell to win this governor's seat. I really, truly do. Really do. Okay, let's talk about lieutenant governor. Oh boy, 11 candidates. Ooh. Alright. So, we have Jeffrey Elmore, current representative from Wilkes County. Watched the debate. It was through the Frederick Douglass Foundation. Frederick Douglass Foundation invited all 11 candidates. Well, only 2 of them attended, and it was him and another and a lady by the name of Rivera Dowett, who I'll talk about in a little bit. But Representative Elmore did a good job of explaining, what the job of lieutenant governor is, and really, you're a liaison between the legislature and the governor. That's basically what you are. But then we kind of get to the not so great part about Representative Elmore. Back in 2019, he proposed a $10 registration fee on bicycles. Okay, now what do you think is really bad about that? A registration fee for so 8-year-old John can ride his bicycle, or the fact that the DMV in North Carolina is a total cluster F in this state. So you want to talk about pouring gas on the fire? So paying a registration fee for a bicycle for little Junior, that's big government rhinoism. And then you pour gas on the fire. You're going to give the DMV more work? They can't already handle 10 million automobiles in the state? You think they really want to handle registration for bicycles for little Junior and Juniette? Really? And also, he's wholeheartedly endorsed Mark Robinson for governor. So there's that. Rivera Dowett. To my knowledge, this is her very first time running for elected office of any position. And unfortunately, her debate performance was lackluster. Maybe a C-, D+, not very good. She's also 100% for Mark Robinson. She talked a lot about being a mom, being a Christian. That's great, good qualities. I don't really see her as lieutenant governor material. I think she could maybe be more of a somebody who could be in the Faith and Freedom Coalition, or maybe some sort of legislative liaison between folks on the family and the Republican National Committee, something like that for her. Okay, who's next on her lieutenant governor list here? Sam Page, Seth Woodall, they're just way too close to Phil Berger. Hal Weatherman, aka I call him Hal Loserman, lost. He was the campaign manager for Dan Forrest in 2020, and he lost. This, in my opinion, was a very winnable race, and he lost it by 5 points. Oh yeah, and he also is very, very, excuse me. He's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very, very out in front of being pro Mark Robinson for governor. And he wants people to know that, But of course, to give Weatherman credit, the only loss was in 2020 in the governor's race. I mean, he had a pretty good track record with that, but I just look and I say to myself, the guy's been a political consultant for over 25 years, and now he wants to run for an elected official position. And I just think to myself, like, a political consultant running for run for elected office, really? That's like, it's like eating a cold hot dog. Just no. Okay, Deanna Ballard. I'll admit that I liked Deanna Ballard when I heard her name. She ran against Ralph Heiss in a primary a couple years ago and lost by it was a very close. It was less than 1,000 votes, maybe even less than 500 votes. Lost to Ralph Heiss. Ralph Heiss, who in a huge hurry back in 2021 decided to make a motion to dismiss, even though We still had plenty of party business to do. Again, he's member Heiss is a member of the NASCAR caucus. I'm in such a big hurry to do party business that I want you to dismiss, and I don't want y'all to do party business without me. So I'm going to go ahead and just dismiss, and it would be like I'm out of here. But anyway, Deanna Ballard represents the Franklin Graham organization, Samaritan's Purse, which is a great thing. However, when it came time to vote on HB2, she did not vote on HB2, which was the bathroom bill. In other words, which is a common sense piece of legislation that the Republicans repealed. I don't know why, because it's common sense. Boys should use boys' bathroom, girls should use girls' bathrooms, right? But, they got to cater to that 1 or 2% of the population that is, all mentally ill and transgendered, whatever. Anyway, just did not vote, No on Deanna Ballard. Okay. Alan Mashburn. He's okay. He's a pastor. He was a welder. But I think Alan Mashburn, again, is a little bit in that Mark Robinson mold where he is just talking. He's overshooting the office of lieutenant governor. I feel like he's running more for to be Glenn Beck's substitute host, or more of a national race than a state race. And by the way, I need to tell you that all 7 of those candidates, when they were asked a question at a debate by the NC Values Coalition about abortion, they all went down the path of, we need to be on the side of the baby and could care less about the mother, right? It's kind of like that George Carlin bit where it's like, Republicans, they care 100% about the baby as long as the baby is in the tummy. But then once the baby gets out, it's like George Carlin goes, nope, we don't care if you need more. No Head Start, no pre-K, no free breakfast, school, that sort of thing. And despite being asked by the NC Values Coalition, hey, listen, 75% of the country is for abortion rights. And they all just went, well, I'm pro-life, blah, blah, blah. I'm, never talked about the life of the mother, Alan Mashburn did mention lowering the barriers to adoption, which is a good thing, but none of them talked about better access to birth control, more affordable access to birth control. Never really talked about, some adults just want to be able to have sex and don't want kids, that whole thing too. And all 7 of them just went down that rabbit hole that the Democrats are going to eat their lunch on. So anyway, okay, the final 4. Ernest Reeves and Jim O'Neill. These 2 people, they have 0 social media presence. Both of their web pages look like they're from 1997, so no. Okay, then the final 2. These 2 are, I think, the most competent of the 11 candidates for lieutenant governor. We have Peter Boykin, who I consider a friend. Him and I had a good long conversation at the state convention last year. He's definitely a blue collar guy. Lives actually in a trailer in Alamance County. He's definitely more of, listen, let's focus on economic issues. Let's focus on problems people have, things that can solving problems, bringing people together rather than talking about, who can marry who and abortion and just things that divide people more, right? He did an interview with Political Lens. It was okay. I do think he's a little too maybe socially liberal for my taste. I would say I'm fairly social liberal on the issue of abortion, but the gay rights and the drag queens and the transgenders, I'm definitely pretty far to the right on that. And I thought in his interview, I wish he would talk a little bit more about economic issues. The interview, it was so-so. Then we have Marlenis Hernandez Novoa. This is her first time running for political office, at least in North Carolina. I actually met her through Facebook. Found out she's running for lieutenant governor, and found out she's a firefighter paramedic, mom and married, and mom of 4 kids. Definitely a woman very passionate about education. A lot of problems in the Wake County public schools. She also interviewed with Political Lens on YouTube and did very well in the interview, citing specific examples of problems in the Wake County public schools, such as middle school girls not having access to the bathroom or access to feminine hygiene products, as well as reports of in some high schools in Wake County of high schoolers having sex. Yeah, sexual intercourse in the bathrooms. Crazy. So my choice for lieutenant governor, again, first time running for office in the state of North Carolina. And I think a lot of the candidates, besides her and Peter Boykin, 9 of the 11 candidates were very cookie cutter. Yeah, it's just lieutenant governor. I want more of a renaissance man or woman, more of an outside the box. So yeah, Marlenis Hernandez Novoa, the longest name on the ballot, is my choice for the lieutenant governor office. Okay, auditor. Let's talk about the bad people first. Stay away from Dave Bollock. He just switched his party from Democrat to Republican like a couple months before the primary, right? But Bollock is a UNC trustee, so he's been a aid and abetting that whole what you call the left wing indoctrination of students in the university system of North Carolina. So Dave Bollock is a hell no. Another danger candidate is Jeff Tart. Jeff Tart helped get the I-77 toll lanes in, despite rampant opposition in his district. Didn't listen to people. And then when he was called out on it by who was, I don't know, the Daily Haymaker, what was it? I forget the man's name, but anyway, the Daily Haymaker talked about this, but he was very hostile to Nicole Revels and another guy. I forget the guy's name now, escapes me, but very hostile to his constituents. So stay away from Tart and Bullock. Now the other 4 candidates for this office are very good. Charles Dingy will be stingy with your money. He's out of Wake County. Has been involved in the Republican Party for about 10 years. Good guy. He's been endorsed really by almost every single wing wing and group of the Republicans, right, from the more establishment wing to the more Tea Party wing. He's probably going to win. However, that is not who I'm endorsing. Jim Key is a former Democrat, but unlike Mr. Bollock, I think he is actually an authentic born-again Republican. And he was a member of the Greensboro City Council. So he has that, he's been involved in the budgeting of the third largest city in North Carolina. And plus he has federal auditing experience. So Jim Key is an honorable mention, but the candidate who I like the best is Anthony Street. So let me tell you about Anthony Street. Well, 2 years ago, when really nobody else would challenge Beth Wood, he did. Well, actually, him and Tony Hagemeyer, I believe was his name. Tony Hagemeyer did not campaign in the primary, but Anthony Street did, and he did it through the grassroots. Anthony Street lives way down in Holden Beach in Brunswick County. Yet, I saw him all over the state campaigning. I mean, he was in Chatham County, 3 hours away. He was out in Western Carolina, 6 hours away. He was up near Elizabeth City, 4 hours away. He was everywhere. And guess what? Even though Hagemeyer had more money than Anthony Street won because guess what? He went to where his base voters were. He went there. He went to the event, or got to the events early and stayed past the events. He listened. He listened to what his constituents had to say. Now, in a more easier election, 2 years later, we have 5 other candidates in this race. But Anthony Street decided to run again. And guess what? The fact that he decided to step up to the plate in a very difficult situation against a then very popular, probably the most popular Democrat in the state of North Carolina, Beth Wood. Anthony Street stepped up to the plate when no other Republican would. So therefore, Anthony Street is my choice for auditor. Agriculture Commissioner. The incumbent Steve Troxler, he's been around. He's been in the office for 20 years. Been hearing over the last couple of years, people complain about how expensive the state fair is getting. And that is one of the responsibilities of Steve Troxler, is to organize and run the state fair every year. Also, he was one of the very first supporters of the COVID vaccine. Yeah, he went down that rabbit hole. So, I'm a hell no on Steve Troxler. And I'm going to vote for Colby Bear Hammonds for this office. Insurance Commissioner. Mike Halsey, the incumbent, has done a wonderful job as commissioner. This is probably the easiest choice on the ballot is to send him back. The legislature stripped his powers as fire marshal, which was a completely despicable and so wrong of a decision by the legislature to do that. Because a lot of the fire stations around the state of North Carolina have gotten better ratings, safety ratings, and that lowers homeowners insurance premiums and also lowers the taxes for when you pay your automobile property tax as well. Now the 2 other people, Andrew Marcus, don't know anything about him. C. Robert Brawley was fantastic as a state legislature, but that was 10 years ago. And he is in his early 80s now. An insurance commissioner is not a job where you sit at a desk all day. You are expected to travel around the state quite a bit, and I just don't know if Mr. Brawley would be able to handle that. And besides, Mike Halsey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's done a fabulous job. Keep him. Labor Commissioner. This one is more of a I don't like a candidate, so this is more of a strategy to get to defeat a candidate rather than actually like the candidate I'm voting for. John Hardister is running for this seat. I'm not a fan of him. A couple big reasons why. I've heard him speak at a couple. One was a Republican Speakers Forum that we have here in Greensboro every month. And then he spoke at a young Republicans meeting. Both times he was just very unprepared. He talked down to his audience, and I thought he was very disrespectful. And just, it sounded like he didn't spend any time preparing. And look, I know Hardister's a busy man, but can you maybe take like 10 minutes and maybe try and prepare something to talk about that we don't already know? Really? And another reason why I can't stand Hardister, he's a country club rhino. He's never, he's always lived a very well off life. He's never experienced poverty like I have. He gave a statement to WXII about 2 years ago when gas prices were approaching $5 a gallon. I'll never forget this. He was asked by the reporter, would you support giving people, I think it was like a $100 check in the mail to help defray gas cost, or eliminating the gas tax for, I think Florida and Georgia did it for like 2 months or something. And John Hardister, he said, well, that money goes for our to spend on our roads. So in other words, he gave an excuse to not cut taxes, and I think that's bullshit. Any Republican who refuses or makes excuses rather than cut taxes is bullshit, in my opinion. It's dog shit, really, as Joe Pesci would say. And I just, for the life of me, cannot support John Hardister. And I think he's just using the position to try and run for governor in 2028, So, yeah, no. So the other candidate is Luke Fairley. Don't know much about him other than pretty much all of my friends in the North Carolina Republican Party have endorsed him. Pretty much every single group, rather be establishment or Tea Party, almost every single group, club in the state in Republican Party politics that endorsed Luke Fairley over John Hardister. So I'm going to vote for Luke Fairley just to make sure John Hardister gets defeated. The two other candidates, I'm glad they ran, but this is more, maybe I'll take a look at them in 2028. The Labor Commission race is all about making sure John Hardister gets defeated. Secretary of State. We have Jesse Thomas, who is a retired executive from Blue Cross Blue Shield. So he's a healthcare executive. Run away from Jesse Thomas. No way. We have Christina Villaverde. I like the fact that she has a similar career to Marlenis Hernandez. It's been involved a lot with public safety, emergency management, but I question how that really fits into a position that is more about business and economic development. So that leaves us with Chad Brown, who is a commissioner from Gaston County, which is just west of Charlotte. And Chad Brown has been very proactive in recruiting businesses to Gaston County, and everything on his campaign website and his YouTube channel is all about economic development, about business. the Secretary of State, you are essentially the kind of the Chamber of Commerce slash business recruiter from North Carolina. So Chad Brown is extremely qualified for the Secretary of State race. Is he a bit of a, he likes Mark Robinson? Yes. Is he a bit of an establishment guy? Yeah. But the other two candidates just don't cut the mustard for me. So Chad Brown is 100% my choice for Secretary of State. And then we come to Superintendent of Public Instruction. Catherine Truitt is the incumbent, is a Republican, and Republicans have had control of this seat now for 2 terms, for 8 years. Unfortunately, it seems like public schools in North Carolina have continued to deteriorate. They're still teaching CRT. They're teaching a lot of this what do you call it? This liberal gobbledygook, if you will. And just one of the first things Catherine Truitt did after she was elected in 2020 is I think her chief of staff is a huge liberal Democrat. So huge red flag. Just nothing good has come out of Catherine Truitt's administration. And actually, Mark Robinson defends her. So yeah, it's no reason not to vote for Mark Robinson. Nothing, And before that, we had Mark Johnson. And nothing from him. Nothing good from him either. And I remember 4 years ago in the primary, I had a choice between Catherine Truitt and state legislature Horn was his last name. And I should have picked Mr. Horn. I was so wrong about picking Catherine Truitt. So we're just going to have to continue to circulate, hopefully Michelle Moreau will finally be a conservative, not just a Republican superintendent of public instruction, but a conservative SPI. So Michelle Moreau is my choice for the superintendent of public instruction. Then we come to the treasurer, state treasurer. Got some big shoes to fill because Dale Falwell's done a fabulous job in this race. Fabulous. Okay, so we have Brad Brenner. Brad Brenner is, he is a Wall Street hack, and he's supported by, Bloomberg and Soros and all that ilk. No way. Hell no on Brad Brenner. Rachel Johnson is the, apparently, from what I've researched on Rachel Johnson, she supports Dale Folwell and all of his work. But Rachel Johnson is the wife of former State Superintendent Mark Johnson. And Mark Johnson thought so much of his job that he retired after one term to run for lieutenant governor. So, Rachel Johnson, no. But our third choice is very good. AJ Dowd is his name. AJ is a guy who is if you want to look up the word team player in the dictionary, a picture of AJ Dowd will be right next to the words team player. He is always in the 14 years off and on I've been involved in North Carolina Republican Party politics. AJ Dowd has always been involved. He's been sergeant at arms at like every state convention, a lot of district conventions, even county conventions, parliamentarian at conventions, and done a very good job too. There was a parliamentarian / convention chairman, done a very good job, especially with that, because there was a situation in Onslow County a couple years ago What's his name? Well, with the Onslow County chairwoman, just a really hostile situation. And AJ ruled very fairly in that situation. Did a great job with that. He's been a district chairman. He's always, there may be some times when you might be upset about how something goes at convention. You may be upset about how a primary election goes, but guess what? AJ is sort of that Mr. Rogers. He's always going to be there to cheer people up and just to always, it may get on your nerves sometime, but he's Mr. GOP cheerleader. He's always got the pom-poms, and he's, just an all-around great man. I'm privileged to call him a friend. I'm privileged to know him. Just really, we not only need more AJ Dowds in the North Carolina Republican Party, but we need more AJ Dowds in Raleigh in the state government. So I'm very proud. One of the easiest decisions that you can make, besides voting for Dale Falwell for governor, is voting for AJ Dowd for treasurer. Just a really great man, great honorable man. Finally, we have the State Court of Appeals seat 15. Two people running. This one is more of an Anthony Street situation where I know him personally. But Michelle Nix did a great job of pointing out that Chris Freeman is a rhino. And also kind of a recent switch from Democrat to Republican. Hunter Murray's been a Republican for a long time. He, as far as Facebook friends that I know within the state Republican Party, I would say probably about 70% of them I friend from me. I look them up and I add them as a friend. And then there's 30% of people who add me as a friend. Well, Hunter Murphy is one of those people who added me as a friend, and I'm very thankful for that. He's a family man. He's always doing things with his family. He's a huge Atlanta Braves fan, and I'm really glad he's an Atlanta Braves fan. If he were a Washington Nationals fan, yeah, I'd vote for Chris Freeman. Hunter Murphy, great guy. Knows how to separate the work from the family. Knows work-life balance. He'll be a great Court of Appeals judge too. All right. Well, that's the ballot. At 48 minutes. Woo. Yeah. A lot of candidates this year. So, but I'm glad to do it. I really am. I should have a car by the end of this month. So I'll be out a lot more events. Definitely district conventions. Definitely. That'll be big. That'll be huge. Alright, y'all. If you made it this far, thank you very much. Love ya. Mwah. Bye.